G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make the green section of this pumpkin hat. I will leave the link below for the actual hat, but I'm just going to show you how to make the top part of the pumpkin because you can add this to any hat that you like. So let's get started on the lesson. I do have a free written pattern available on my website for this hat, and I'll also put up the free patterns for the leaves and also the top of the pumpkin. For our supplies, we will need a yarn needle with a large eye. We'll need a crochet hook that is smaller than what's recommended. The Red Heart Yarn Super Saver recommends a 5.5 or an I size hook. This is a 4mm or a G size hook. So you're going to need a crochet hook to get tight tension, because when we put our stuffing in, we don't want it to be showing through. We will also need a pair of sharp scissors. And like I said, the yarn we're using today is Red Heart Super Saver in the colour Spring Green. And excuse my label, this is using up scrap, so as you can see, it's been pretty well loved. Putting our yarn aside. I actually really like this green colour, it's one of my favourites. So to begin our project, the written pattern is available on my website. I will put all the links below in the description box. So first of all, we want to chain 10. And we're going to slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. We don't count the one that's on our hook. We want to go into the second. So this is number 1 and that's number 2. So working a slip stitch. We're going to single crochet into the next. Half double crochet in the next one, so wrapping over. Pulling through all 3. I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3. We're going to work a treble crochet into the next one, so that's wrapping our yarn twice, going into the next stitch, pulling through 2, through 2 and through 2, double crochet into the next chain, and 5 half double crochets into the last chain. That's 1. And that's 5. So working onto the other side of the chain, we're going to work a half double crochet. So we worked in that one, we're going to work into this one. We're going to work a double crochet into the next chain. Treble into the next one, so it's wrapping twice. Double crochet into the next 2 stitches, that's the first one. And the second one. Half double crochet. Oops, my yarn's it's half double crochet, single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the last one, but I want you to slip stitch into here, right on the end there. Go through both loops, should have two. And that is our leaf. So I'm going to cut our yarn off, but if you want to sew your project, so if you want to sew your project flat and sew around the outside of it and sew it to a project, you're going to leave a reasonably long tail because you'll need to be able to sew around the outside. But if you want to sew it to a project and not have it sewn down, so this bit will be flapping about, you won't need to cut off as much yarn. So I'm going to cut off about, I'm going to say 10 inches, between 8 and 10 inches. If you want to sew it to a project, I would cut off probably 12 inches. So we're just going to pull that yarn through. And what we're going to do now, because this is the tip of the leaf, we're going to sew back through. Now you're probably thinking, well, why? Well, if you sew back through, it actually gives it a bit more, it's a bit more firm. The leaf will be a bit more firm and it will hold its shape better. Of course, if you're sewing this onto a project and you don't need it to hold shape, then you won't need to do this bit. Going through. Go right through till the end. And that's the yarn that you're going to use to sew on. Just pull it so you haven't got it pulled tight, and you'll need to sew this end in. Getting rid of that one. There we go, we have our leaf. That's really cute. You will need to make another leaf and then we'll be on to the stem section. So what we want to do is grab our yarn and crochet hook and we're going to make a slip knot. You could also use a magic ring for this method. And I'm going to chain 4. I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain, and then I'm going to crochet into the ring, chain 1. I'm going to work 10 single crochets into the center, so I can pull that tight. I will sew my ends later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Slip stitch into the first single crochet. So we've joined with a slip stitch. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch. I'm going to continue all the way around. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch at the beginning of the row. We're going to repeat that row until we've got the stem the length that we need it, just putting 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So I've done 13 rows altogether. What I want to do now is work on the piece that comes out, like the round section. So we're going to chain 1. Into each stitch around we're going to work 2 single crochets. So that's 1, going back into the same stitch. It's 2, into the next one. 1 and 2. I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Then we're going to join. Going to chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch. Into the next stitch we're going to work 2 single crochets, and into every second stitch around we're going to work 2 single crochets. So it's 1 into this one. Oops. Let me just rework that stitch. And 2 into the next. Can you hear that bird tweeting? I'm doing it the whole video. Must be outside the window somewhere. That's 1. Every time I look out there I can't see it, but something's out there. 2 into the next. One into the next one. And 2 into the next. Repeat this all the way around. And I'll meet you when we get back to the beginning. We're going to join to the first stitch with a slip stitch. At the moment it looks like some sort of finger puppet with a skirt on. Just need to add some eyes and a face and some hair. So chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, and 2 into the next. Single crochet into the next 2 stitches, increase, which is 2 single crochets, into the next one. 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, increase, which is 2 into the next stitch. Continue around till we get back to the beginning. We want to join with slip stitch. Can anybody else see a witch's hat forming here? I think it might be the colour that's making me think witch's hat. Chain 1, single crochet into the same stitch, and single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Increase into the next one, into the next, over the next 3 stitches work 1 single crochet, increase into the next, into the next 3 stitches work 1 single crochet, and then increase into the next one, and we're going to repeat this around and I'll meet you back at the beginning. And we're going to join with a slip stitch. Now yours may start to look, it won't be round because we're adding increases. See how it's got like sides to it now? We're adding increases at these points here. Now if yours are starting to do that, I'm actually going to just work one row of single crochet with no increasing, so it's just one in every stitch around, and this will even out the little shape that's happening there, because we want the top of our pumpkin to be round. That didn't make any sense. Not the top of the pumpkin, this part of the stem. I don't even know what that part's called. The green bit. Alright, so work one stitch around and then I'll come back to you when we're at the beginning of the row. I should say round, it's a round. Now I think that I've got enough rounds here. See how it's rounded it off nicely. It's less of a it's less sides on there. You could work another row of single crochet if you wanted to. Like I said, I think mine's big enough. If you're using thinner yarn, you may need some more rows. So the row that just before the one we just did had 3 single crochets and then an increase. So your next row will be 4, the next row will be 5 in between your increases. I'm just going to measure this to see what size it is. So it's about 9 centimeters or 3.5 inches across. Now of course if it's for a baby, you may want to make it smaller. This one's for an adult, so, and this will actually bend over, so now it looks more like a pumpkin instead of a whatever that is. So I've got this end here, I'm going to sew that in. I'm just going to sew it around the top here. Actually, I'm going to sew that. I'm just going to sew that one more time. I don't want this one to come undone because it's the opening of the top of it there. Will I get more? I'm pushing it. I'm running out of yarn. That's better. The bird's still going. I still can't see it outside. Okie dokie, so if you've got some scrap yarn, so I've got all my bits that I've cut off here. Just seeing if I've got any more on the side here. I've got a red piece, but that shouldn't show through, so I'm going to stuff that in there. You could use, what do you call it, toy feel. You could use, I think it's hobby feel, I think it's called in some places. So I'm going to actually go and find some scrap yarn. I have a little container. How bad is this, Yarn Addict? I have a little container that I put all my little yarn ends in, like those little pieces I put in there, because they're great for stuffing little things like toys and that, where you don't need a lot. You don't want to go to the shops to buy a bag of toy fill when you've only got to stuff something the size of your finger. So I found some more stuff. So these are just basically, well, that's probably a little bit long, but they're all long pieces. You know, but things you can't really do much with. I just put them all in this container so that if I need, you know, to sew a mouth onto something, or, like I said, stuff something. So you don't want to stuff it too hard, because if you stretch the stitches too much, if you haven't done your stitches really tight, it will show through, the stuffing will show through. So that's pretty good, you can't see any of that. Still can't find that bird outside. If I do get it, I'll take a photo and put it in this video. Okay, so we've got that bit done. I am going to cut my yarn off. I'm going to leave about 12 inches to sew that on. That's probably a bit more than 12 inches, but it doesn't matter. If I have any ends, I can put them into my little container. Okay, so we've got our leaves that we made before. I need to fix the end on that one. You probably could have done these in a different colour. That probably would have looked really good. But I'm trying to just use up this ball of green. I just want to have my end up there. Just realised I haven't pulled that through there, so I'm sure you would have already done that. So now we're going to stitch on our leaves. So you can place them wherever you like. I'm going to place them at the stem, at the base of the stem. And I'm basically just tacking them on, because I want my leaves to be able to sort of move around. Do one more. I'm just going to put it through the loop, pull tight, and then I'm going to put my end to the inside. You can sew that in if you want to, but when I put it onto my hat I'm going to cover it up and you won't even know it's not sewn in. So grabbing your other leaf, you probably make more than 2 leaves I reckon, but I'm just going to stitch it next to the other one. So we're just doing the same thing. Through the loop, pull tight, and then putting it to the other side. That's looking really cute. Okay, so now what we want to do is grab your hat, and this can be added to any hat pattern. You can choose anything you like. Now I am using a hat which is a pumpkin colour. This is also red heart yarn in the colour pumpkin, which I thought was perfect for this video considering it's for a pumpkin. And this is my my slouchy hat that's in Make It Flat, and I will put the link below in case you want to make one exactly the same. But you can add it to any beanie. You could add it to a beanie with ear flaps, like I said, add it to anything. So you're going to grab the top centre of your hat. You're going to get, we can actually stuff those in that hole, can't we? We're going to place the pumpkin top onto the centre of our hat. And we're going to thread our needle. If you've got a foam head, this might be easy to do on a foam head. I do have lots of foam heads, but it will be quite awkward to show you on the video camera, so I'm going to not use it. So putting the centre of your top onto the top of your hat, where the centre is. You could also use a balloon. I recommend putting a tea towel over the balloon first, so that when you're sewing it on, you don't pop the balloon and scare the daylights out of yourself. And when we sew anything on, doesn't matter if it's a pumpkin top or if it's an eyeball or ears or anything, you want to sew as close to the bit you're sewing on the part below. So you don't want to put your needle out here and try and sew over here. You want to get out of the way, you want to put your stitch as close as you can to the piece you're sewing on. You may even want to pin this on. I don't have any pins, so I won't be able to. But as you go around, you want to make sure that the centres of the two pieces are still matching up. Otherwise, you'll have a crooked stem. Especially with this hat, because it's not completely flat like a normal beanie. And you want to try and pick the stitches up that are on the front of your crochet. Now, if you go right through the hat, if it's for yourself, you may not mind if there's green stitches on the inside. But if it's for a present or you're going to sell it, you want it to look as neat as possible. So just grab the loops that are on the top. You don't want to go stabbing it straight through like that, because your green yarn will show on the other side. Small stitches are better. You don't want to like miss a big gap like that, because that whole thing will be a stitch and it will look ugly. You want to make your stitches as small as you can. So continue around. It's looking cute already, isn't it? Continue around and I'll meet up when we've sewn this on. So when we get back to the beginning, we want to make a little tiny knot. And then sew our ends in. Make sure that you're not going, you can use your fingers, don't go through your, don't go through the other side of your hat, just keep it to the green section. We can cut that off. We can shape it. How cute is it? So here's my finished pumpkin hat. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please subscribe, as there will be plenty more videos to come. Please share your creations on our Facebook page. And until next time, happy crochet!